So welcome back to the OC development journey. I'll be your host, my name's Sage, and today we are back talking about another one of my glub shittos. Like my last OCDJ video, this one is going to be a little bit different to my initial three. The character I'm talking about today actually had a massive change in design and character from her initial design, so I'll talk a little bit more into it, but I need to tell you to trust the process. Today's victim is Minali Yeongi, a side character in my webcomic Keys of Corruption. I don't know if I've gotten to draw her yet, but if I have, shove her on the screen! This would be really embarrassing actually for me to edit if I haven't drawn her yet. Anyway, the context of the video series is that I have a lot of OCs, and I have had them for a good while, even if they haven't had the development some of the other OCs have had. And, I think a year ago now, I released the first chapter of my webcomic, Keys of Corruption, which happens to have all of those characters in it. Keys of Corruption is about a world where only 1% of the population is born with special powers called keys, and distressing things start to happen to Rose Kingley, our main character, when her mentor dies. This sets into motion a dangerous chain of events that will change Rose's life forever. Essentially, a bunch of young adults become politically aware and try to topple a fascist government. So, if that sounds like your thing, the link tree that houses all the different sites you can read it on will be in the description. And now that intro and shameless plugging is done, let's get on to Minali's OC development journey, consisting of a half-assed fairy tale OC and a fully developed tragic lesbian. So, I feel the need to immediately state that Minali, who was originally called Blaze in this interpretation, was incredibly underdeveloped. This was at a stage in my life where I just liked making cool color palettes and writing Mary Sue's, so honestly, I was having a good time. Unironically, I've made another character during this time that was just based off of color palette vibes, who is also in Keys of Corruption, so maybe I'll make his video next or something similar. Anyway, back to Blaze. Blaze was a shy character who was introverted and gave what I would consider small smiles. Like, she'd never smile with her teeth, if that makes sense. She also had, a very strong moral code, so she kind of became a little bit of a moral compass for a lot of characters. I don't think I ever decided what her magic was gonna be. So I can't even, delve into, why I would have chose that magic, because, I have not got a fucking clue. I don't think I even got that far, which is crazy considering she's a fairy tale OC and magic is, the main thing they do. I can tell you that she was originally going to be part of the Magic Council. The idea was that she was going to work closely with Mist to infiltrate and stuff, except she wasn't originally part of Fairy Tail like Mist, and then she'd eventually join later. Also, she's not a fucking nonce. Fuck you, Mist, you're a fucking weirdo and you ruined my fucking series. I think she was also going to originally be a love interest for Loxus, but it would have been after he was expelled, because I'm pretty sure that's the best version of his character, ever, you know. A character is better after their positive development. Who would have guessed? This next bit is gonna sound a little bit crazy, so bear with me, but Blaze was kind of the first time I had considered an anime character didn't have to just be pale. Obviously, I had created Kiri before this, but you hardly see any characters that are, tanned or darker in anime. Also, Fairy Tail was my first anime series, and from what I remember, they're all pale apart from, the Black Dragon, which is really nuts now that I think about it and say it out loud. So when I was designing and picking the color palette, I was looking for colors that matched the skin tone I picked. I'm pretty sure I used the flesh tone monstrosity that floats around the internet every now and then, so I was working off of a skin tone base rather than a general vibe or a magic base, if that makes sense to those who design characters. That's how she ended up with this fiery color palette with golden eyes and pinkish hair, and honestly, she's fucking gorgeous. I love her. She's awesome. But because I love her so much, you're probably wondering how Blaze became Minali, and honestly, it came down to the writing. My main cast in Keys of Corruption are mostly shy, introverted characters, whether it be from trauma or just genuinely being an introvert. But with Blaze included, 7 out of 10 of them were just shy and quiet. And that really doesn't work when you're trying to make an ensemble piece. So because of this, I was really struggling with dynamics and how to stop them from blurring into one character. And if I'm having trouble telling them all apart, then my readers definitely would as well. So I decided to get rid of the least developed character and revamp them. and sadly that happened to be Blaze. I thought about what would spice up the cast and ended up making Minali, my favourite mean lesbian. And she's not just a mean lesbian. She's a mean lesbian who's in love with her best friend. Minali came around from me playing around with common character tropes that you'd see in anime and then trying to flip them on their head. Have you ever heard of the classic Twitter line, "If this was a woman, everyone would hate her"? Because this is kind of what I'm going for. Minali is abrasive, argumentative, and frankly rude, but she's smart and has heart, but she'll also call you an idiot in the same sentence. And this mix of a mean character with 6 out of 10 of my introverted characters worked really well to bring them out of their shells. They're all still gonna be introverted, but now they have someone who will literally bait them into responses. So we'll get to see who ends up being baited and who just rolls their eyes and ignores it. Honestly, a great writing decision from me. Minali is so cool. I love her so much. I should probably talk about her design now, huh? So I did end up completely redesigning Blaze to make Minali. Blaze's colour palette will be used for another character, which I already have plans for, so I'm very excited about that. But I did end up making Minali a lot paler in comparison. I do have some other tanned characters in the Keys of Corruption lineup, so I figured I could sacrifice this in order to help tell the story of Minali and where she came from. I also wanted Minali to blend in a little bit more with the cast of characters, and I understand that that sounds a little bit racist right now, but I promise it's not. She has just like another massive thing that she has going for her, and I didn't want to have like two things immediately clashing together. Speaking of racism, I will end up talking about racism specific. Is that a weird like tangent to make? Be like, speaking of racism, I'm okay. Alright. I'm not racist. Okay, we're carrying on. I will end up speaking about racism in this webcomic, specifically when it's tied to colonialism and fascism, as I am a white person, and I can't talk about how racism feels, but I can talk about it in the context of other things. As well as this, I will also be talking about misogyny, homophobia, and classism. So in order to actually bring attention to the racism, I had to make other characters blend in with each other more so than when my black characters are around. And there's a whole section of people who have also been taken due to colonialism. They're not necessarily black though. And it's mainly to make them stand out and make sure that their voices are very meaningful. It's also why I have a mixture of Western sounding names as well as Chinese, Korean, and Japanese names. It's all part of the colonialism conversation that I'm gonna have while writing this, and it's very important for me for people to know that, and that it's a conscious decision, and I'm not just assuming every Asian country is the same, because I know it's not. I felt the need to specify that. Anyway, back to the design. I did start to look into alternative fashion and some punk elements when designing Minali. I did end up scaling back a lot of alt fashion to reflect the poorer area she's currently living in, and hopefully as the webcomic progresses, the characters can start to have accessories and things that make it seem like they have a little bit more money. I think it would be best to describe her style as something like a soft alt, if that exists. Like, she wears the baggy trousers and the dyed hair and the edgy personality, but she doesn't take it to what I would consider to be a fully alt fashion statement. On top of making Minali angry and mean, I also wanted to make her a little bit hateful and vengeful. I think out of the tragic backstories, she's definitely up there. No spoilers, but there is one character who sits firmly at the top, and that's mainly because, even now, I question if I went too far with his story. Making her vengeful was mainly due to her being heavily traumatized. As I said before, she had, a main issue going on, as well as making her blend into the rest of her characters, and that is, I don't know if you've noticed while I'm drawing and colouring her, that Minali has a metal arm, a metal leg, and heavy scarring and heterochromia all on one side of her body. The short answer is half of her body blew up, so she's having to compensate with metal implants and stuff like that. Yeah. There is a scene I have planned where she is going to talk about the chronic pain that she feels, as well as the effect of phantom limb syndrome and everything. So it was all going to tie it together in a narrative element, as I'm not going to just try and ignore the fact it's not there to be edgy. I mean, it is there to be edgy, but I'm going to explain it as well, so it makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes any sense me explaining it now. So as much as I genuinely am sad to have had to get rid of Blaze, I am glad I did it because Minali would never have been born otherwise. Also, like, Minali is one of my favorite characters to write now, especially when I'm pairing her up against, like, the main character Rose or some other characters you haven't been introduced to yet. By the time this video comes out, the webcomic trailer should be in the works. I have been quietly grinding away in the background since the beginning of the year to make chapters, and I think I'm currently on, like, a backlog of 5 chapters, and Minali, even if it's, like, mentioned, she has shown up. She's there. This means I should be able to like upload them monthly and consistently. Unfortunately, I am one person, so it's going to be like 1 chapter a month, and they're going to be like small chapters, but we'll get there. We'll get there. So if any of this rambling about Minali or the general plot of the webcomic sounds relatively interesting to you, please consider checking out Keys of Corruption. There is a link in the description to a link tree and on the link tree it has like every single website that I've uploaded it on, so you can use that. And if you've enjoyed my ramblings, please consider liking or subscribing. Whatever you prefer, I'm not really fussed. And, maybe I'll see you in my next video.